1971 saw the release of Dirty Harry, starring Clint Eastwood as the titular character. Going from being known for stoic, morally grey anti-hero cowboys in spaghetti westerns in the 60s, to a stoic, morally grey anti-hero police detective, Eastwood certainly had a type he could effortlessly play. The movie saw 4 sequels, with the last one being released in 1988. In my opinion, they went downhill as they went along, and most of them don't really measure up to the first one. Most. Because I think the second film in the series stands toe-to-toe with the first one, that one being Magnum Force. There'll be spoilers ahead, so you have been warned. Harry Callahan is a detective on the streets of San Francisco. Lawlessness is rampant in the streets and the police are struggling to keep a lid on it. The first movie follows the case of a serial killer named Scorpio, a sadistic killer who takes a lot of glee in taunting the police, sending them notes and getting them to go on a wild goose chase. Dirty Harry was a rare type of hero, more of an anti-hero. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty.
Now you know why they call me Dirty Harry. Every dirty job that comes along.
But he also lived in a kind of grey area. Yes, he was catching criminals, but the way that he did it you could see as questionable. He tortured Scorpio for the location of one of his victims. Yes, Andrew Robertson did a fantastic job portraying him. He really nailed down his despicable, menacing vibe. I had no idea he was the same guy who played Garrick in Deep Space Nine. Between his more endearingly menacing charm in that and Dirty Harry, he really nailed down playing menacing to a science. But that portrayal made you a bit more okay as a viewer with Harry's extrajudicial justice. Like you really wanted him to blow his head clean off. And the movie also made you angry at the ineffective justice system, unable to prosecute him despite having no doubt what he did. I quite enjoyed the movie. It was a blend between cop movie, vigilante movie, and a bit of western as well. It posed despicable criminals against an ineffective justice system and offered Harry as the cure. The sequel, Magnum Force, continues these themes, wearing it on its sleeve. We open up with a man who has been accused of killing a labour reformer and his family, but the court couldn't convict him due to a technicality. The people of San Francisco are mad, and the movie frames us to despise him and his cronies, aligning the audience's feelings with the feelings of the protesters, thinking he's a real piece of work as he shoves reporters out of the way. The next scene shows a traffic cop pull up to them. We're expecting some corruption, maybe a bit of bribery. You know, these guys do seem the type, but things take a sudden abrupt turn. We, the audience, aren't sympathetic to them at all, but we are still shocked. The main villains in this movie are a group of police officers who are acting as vigilantes, who execute people they deem as going too far, or those the system can't touch. Police violence and police brutality plague society, not least of which in the US. Usually the law gives you leniency for self-defense if you feel your life is in danger, and the US has some less strict laws in terms of self-defense. There are stand your ground laws or the castle doctrine depending on which state you're in, but those laws rarely give protections if the person you are defending yourself against is a police officer. Legally speaking, any force you use against a police officer may be seen as evading arrest or assaulting a police officer. And this issue has come to light thanks to a lot of citizen journalism where videos have been recorded of police officers assaulting and even killing people and broadcasting these crimes to the public at large and therefore forcing change. And now the police wear body cameras for the legal protection of both the citizens and the police. So in the days when this was set, these measures were not in place. Police didn't wear body cameras 50 years ago. And here we have a conflict of feelings. Police should not be allowed to take the law into their own hands. That said, the people they killed shouldn't be allowed to get away with what it is they have done. We are primed to have these two gut reactions to what's happened, that in a way contradict each other. That juxtaposition and the way that it's shot, keeping his face hidden, keeping the tension going, was a really effective way to introduce this movie's villain. Harry has been put on stakeout by the chief for being a naughty boy, but soon relents once the bodies pile up. Harry is a smart cop, and has been around the block a few times. He knew right away it was a cop. But the idea is too sour for Briggs. But Harry's more persistent than a double-glazing salesman. And that's what makes this movie my opinion. In these movies at least, the villain can often make or break them. The first one, Scorpio, was a despicable character in his own right, and also served as an opposite to Harry. He was a great, memorable villain. But then we compare him to the villains of the third film, the Enforcer, which are a group of hippies turned terrorists. Think if the Scooby Gang got the hang on some Stinger missiles, and that probably makes them sound a lot cooler than they actually are, because I found these villains completely forgettable, and overall the Enforcer wasn't as good as the other two. At some point during the film, he meets up with some younger patrol officers and does some shooting with them. They immediately bond, which is something incredibly rare for Harry, who's often aloof and misanthropic. But to a little surprise to the audience, it turns out that these traffic cops are the ones doing the vigilante killings. The film does a careful job framing how these cops are killing people. It either shows us or tells us the bad things that person has done first, then shows the cops killing them. We aren't shown them just doing the killing. That could appear to be indiscriminate murder, but the film importantly shows both of these as a cause and effect, reinforcing the villain's motivations, giving them a modicum of sympathy maybe. The vigilante killers are based on the death squads that were used in Brazil from the 1960s.
Sort of a death squad like they had in Brazil some years back.
The Esquadrão de Morte would kill people they deemed escaped justice, but would also kill those they consider politically dangerous. And at this point, some may be on their side, that is until another cop, a friend of Harry's, sees one of them. To cover his tracks, he kills him, which for Harry crosses a line. The team try to recruit Harry, which he refuses. Here we see them talk about their actions in a clear and focused way.
We began with the criminals that the people know, so that our actions would be understood.
Not springing to impulse or emotion, but to principle and as if they have a manifesto. On first look, maybe these and Harry don't have too many differences. Harry's a little partial to extrajudicial justice, and also feels like the justice system is deeply flawed, so when the group go to pay him a visit, you would think that he would join them, right? But he doesn't. The reason he gives is that their way doesn't make any sense.
I hate the goddamn system, but until someone comes along with some changes that make sense, I'll stick with it.
But the thing is, I never really understood that. True, he never murdered Scorpio in the first movie, but I never saw him as sympathetic. If Scorpio were to have been murdered, I don't think he would have been too caught up about it. True, you could argue that without a firm, comprehensive system, capital punishment can be given out for minor offences.
You know, when police start becoming their own executioners, where's it gonna end, huh, Briggs? Pretty soon you start executing people for jaywalking. Then you end up executing your neighbor because his dog pisses on your lawn.
Hyperbolic, maybe, but he does have a point there. But the reason I think Harry doesn't go along with it is because they killed that cop, who was also Harry's friend. That hurt him, and perhaps wouldn't find it within himself to forgive them. But that also proved that they were willing and alright with killing people just to cover their operation. The killing is not limited to the criminals. What's to say they won't kill an innocent bystander? And by killing an innocent and getting away with it, does that not mean that they should be subject to their own punishment? And if not, why are the goalposts being moved for them? Should you be given any more moral latitude than anyone else just because you can address the failings in others? Or should you be labelled as a hypocrite? The action in this movie is top notch. The sounds of the bullets hit like not many movies do today, and Harry just jumping on top of a moving car's hood is great. And the climactic scene is also great. Here, Harry is trying to escape from the vigilante cops in an aircraft carrier. The camaraderie they shared earlier in the movie was genuine, and I feel like they were similar to one another in a way that was rare with others in the Force. Even the gun they used, being a Magnum, helped to compare them. It was as if it was a generational handover, or that Harry would have taken them under his wing. Then we fast forward to this scene where Harry is beating one of them to death on the aircraft carrier. Lack of music and the punching sounds is more visceral compared to the other killings that was resolved with gunshots. You can even see a bit of sadness on Harry's face. Overall, I'd say that Magnum Force is better than Dirty Harry. It didn't try to outdo or copy what the first film did. Instead, it built on the core themes and just ran with it. The villains here are really well done, acting as a foil to Harry, not just another killer to be caught. It challenges not only Harry, but the audience as well, forcing us to examine not just the characters, but our perception of law enforcement. And that's something I don't think any Dirty Harry movie has done better since. But hey, that's what I think. Am I being a bit unfair to the later Dirty Harry movies? Do you think that the second one is the best, or do you think the first one is the best? Please let me know down below. I'd like to know what you think to this. If there's anything you think I've missed with this second film, please let me know down below. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. And if you like what you see, please subscribe, and we'll see you later.